Aloha! Welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast, late night edition. My name's Brad Bordessa. Thanks for tuning in. It is approaching 9 o'clock here in Hawaii. The Koki frogs are singing outside. They're loving all this rain we're getting. Maybe you can hear them. And I'm getting ready to start a Zoom call to the other side of the world, to a place called Denmark, where my buddy Tobias Elof will be joining me for some sort of interview. I haven't seen Tobias in a number of years, but he actually came to visit a few years ago, and we spent 2 weeks. He sent me the email. I was like, I bought my plane ticket. I'm coming for 2 weeks. He's like, whoa, it's kind of a long time, but it was great. You know, some people, you never know how it's going to turn out to just kind of have sort of a stranger come stay with you. And it was fantastic. We got along super well. We had a number of great adventures. Took him down to Waipio Valley, and I don't think I have a picture of it, but there's a picture in my mind of him crossing Hi'ilave Stream, waist deep with his ukuleles slung on his back in his backpack case. It's like, oh boy, you had to bring those, didn't you? But it was great. I really, really loved the guy, and it was so fascinating to watch such a professional and amazing musician just work on his craft constantly. He was always touching an ukulele, always playing, always diddling on this idea or that idea and working on something new. It's really fun for me to see, and just to be around so much music and somebody who music is so obviously important to. So if you don't know, Tobias is obviously one of the premier ukulele players in the world. He studied at university and became one of the first people, if not the first person, to graduate from a university music program with the ukulele as his main instrument. And so that was sort of his big news headline, and he's since been playing kind of Danish folk music mixed with reggae and lots of very open sounding tunings and songs. Not that he's playing different tunings that I know of, but just open chords, open melodies, just beautiful, beautiful kind of almost like new agey music on the ukulele, but super interesting. And his technique is just impeccable, flawless. He spent time studying with James Hill, and he's the only person I know of who's got the chops to actually kind of pull off James's style a little bit, and he's incorporated that into his own music. Really original guy, and I'm looking forward to talking story with him. So enough of an intro. You know the drill. Subscribe. You can hear the Live Ukulele podcast on the first and third Saturdays of every month. Let's get to it. So before we got on, I started recording, Tobias and I were talking about the difference in Denmark and US as far as like musicians being able to make a living, and that's one of the kind of probably the more contrasty, interesting things between, me being in the US, quotes, Hawaii, right? And you being in Denmark is, can you speak a little bit to how you are assisted as a musician financially and how you're taken care of?
You mean in terms of COVID or just in terms of like in general, or
just in general as a musician in Denmark?
Yeah, we have this labor union called Dansk Musikerforbund, Danish Musician Union, and I'm not sure when. I think it was like in the 80s that they negotiated. I'm not sure they striked or something, but they negotiated with the Danish government to have a budget for tariffs, as they call it, which is clips of 2,000 kroners that every venue can apply for from the government to the which have to go directly to the musicians. So a venue can apply, say, like, okay, let's apply for 100 clips of tariffs of 2,000 kroners, which is like $300, something, $250, and then that's the minimum wage for playing on venues. Like in real life, sometimes you have to play for less if you want to be friends with the venue, and you don't sell enough tickets, or all that kind of thing. But like legally, that's the minimum wage. So that's you can always refer to that, and people do refer to that because it's a very strong union. It's very special. I know that it's not something that exists too many places in the world, and I don't think it exists in the U.S. Yeah, it makes it possible to make a living from playing a little bit more obscure music. For example, like playing instrumental ukulele music, concerts. That the venues, they don't have to rely on ticket sales for showing a program with a little bit more experimental stuff. There's a lot of free jazz concerts where people get paid well as well. The venues can feel like they're progressive in their program. They don't have to sell tickets only. So that's really convenient for me.
Wow. And so I imagine that frees up your ability to just create as a musician without worrying about paying your bills every day.
Yeah. You still have to get the gigs, and there's a lot of competition. So it's not like it's not like it's a gift shop, but when you get the gig, you're certain that everything will be fixed, and you get a decent pay, and you can make a living from it. It also means that all the venues, they explicitly say on their websites, no cover bands. So playing a cover in Denmark is not something we do naturally. It's something that has to be very special occasion. Like, okay, you have to make a cover, make it into something unique. You can't just play a cover. Like, oh, let's play a cover. No. Even the audience, they like, it's not something that is expected at all. But if you do it, then you have to really work on it and make it into your own cover. That being said, it doesn't mean that there don't exist cover bands, and it doesn't mean that those cover bands never will get booked for the official venues. But usually they just take the ticket sales. I don't think they get the tariffs. I think they can just rely on ticket sales. The few cover bands that make a living from playing cover music.
Interesting.
So that's very different, because I noticed that, especially in the UK, it was kind of expected that you do a cover at some point, at least. Because we have this setup, it means that we don't have to rely on that effect of playing a cover. Yeah.
So that's must be part of the reason that when you were here visiting, I saw you working on so much original music, is because covers aren't really what you do.
Well, I guess that's, you could say it like that. That was the reason why. But also, I just grew up in this culture, so I didn't even know that cover music was such a big thing outside of Denmark. As a musician, I wasn't even aware of the fact how much it means to people. I've always been writing on the uke since I was starting when I was 8, actually. So it just felt naturally to go with that, I think.
So how did you start?
I started when I was 8 because my dad's colleague was a local fiddler, and he had a lot of instruments on his walls when we were visiting him in his home. And I can't really remember it, but I've been told that there was a uke hanging on his wall, and I was just mesmerized by it and just standing and looking at it every time we were visiting. So at some point they asked me if I wanted to buy it, and then I bought it for 20 kroner or something, which is, I don't know, $3. And I started, and for some reason there was a free ukulele course on my primary school. So it just fitted naturally. So I bought the uke, started on the free course, 2 years course on ukulele, and I started playing with my dad, who played the guitar. So we played Danish folk songs and fitted nice together, the guitar and the uke. for singing evenings, community singing evenings kind of thing.
And then from then on, I mean, you're kind of came upon the headlines and attention in the ukulele world for being, you were the first person to graduate from university with ukulele as your main instrument from a music program, right?
Right. I'm pretty sure, yeah. But it depends how you define it as well, because I know that James Hill told me at some point that there were one lady who graduated from a pedagogical studies, musical studies in Canada at some point, but I can't remember the name. But like for the music academy that I studied on, it was like old school kind of music studies where we don't write too many assignments. It's just learn to play an instrument really well, and some pedagogical subjects, but it was not really that kind of thing. No assignments, not too many kind of academic writing and stuff like that. Just playing. So in that way, in that kind of understanding of music academy, I was the first to graduate. Yeah, but just with a bachelor degree, because I know Mika Kanne, he graduated with the master's degree, right, from the University of Manoa Valley. Like the guy works in Hawaii Music Supply, I think. But actually, I applied for my master's degree because of COVID, and I'm a little bit worried whether it will continue the next couple of years, and will all my gigs be lost? And yeah, so I applied last year, and I got in. So I'll start my master's in September.
Wow! And what do you think that will entail from where you're at as a very accomplished musician already?
Well, it kind of depends what teachers I end up getting, but I've asked Kathy Fink if she could teach me a little bit. I can basically ask any teachers I want, I think, and then they will pay for it on the Music Academy. I hope I can find some new paths in the uke. I feel like I want to dig in more to clawhammer, and I definitely Kathy Fink. She's the clawhammer lady, the clawhammer master on the uke as well as the banjo. But so that's one thing. And I haven't asked him yet, but I want to ask Byron Yasui if I could get some lessons from him as well. In terms of having a specific goal, I'm not really sure. It was more of a safety issue, really, to apply for it. But yeah, because it creates a space where you can write music as well, and you can work on certain stuff without being without stressing and getting money. Because in Denmark we get money to study on the university. I think it's $700 or $800 every month. Just get no paying back. You just get it. Which so it creates this space where, even though it's not super much, I still have my Patreon, get some income with that, and in the combination of that, I can work on getting better at certain stuff, or making my content more narrowed, maybe, or more clear. I feel like I want to work on more tutorials and make it even more clear.
Yeah, you mentioned the Patreon thing. What do you see that
being? I
being?
started a Patreon. I hope it can be a part of a stable income at some point in the future. Well, it is sort of already, but I think I have 107 subscribers today.
Wow.
But it goes up and down. And you know that if you have tabs, it goes like crack cocaine for ukulele players. It's really ukulele players, they do love tabs. So if you have some decent tabs arrangements, people will subscribe. That's my experience. I want to pursue it, so it's not only about buying certain tabs. I want to make it. I want to make it so people want to stay a little bit longer. But I'm not so good at selling myself, really, to be honest. I think it's difficult to sell myself. I just kind of do what I like with my Patreon. I hear a song and like, oh yeah, I want to do a cover of this one, ukulele cover of this one, or I write something and I feel like, oh yeah, I can write this on tabs and put it on my Patreon. And I never plan anything from it. And I think if I planned I feel like it could grow more easily, maybe. But yeah, I'm not so good at that. I hope I can get better at that on the Music Academy.
Is there a course for Patreon?
No, not really. And most people in Denmark, they never heard about the website. It's really not common here. I know 2 Danish people who use it. I'm not really sure about it, how Patreon will be in the future, but it makes sense, right, to subscribe on content that you like. I guess could be the next step in the internet thing.
Yeah, it's so tough to try and like stay one step ahead of the curve and what's cool and what's working, because it changes every couple of years dramatically.
Yeah, and I never do covers that are on the Billboard because they're on the Billboard. I don't bother with it. I know that a lot of people do that for ukulele teaching. They just look on the Billboard and then, which one is the popular song, and then they choose that one. But I don't like the popular song, so why should I do a cover of it? But if I do like it, of course, yeah, we can maybe do a cover of it. But if I don't feel like it, I don't know. I don't feel like it. So I'm really not good at putting my own needs away from just doing work. I don't really. It has to be satisfying for myself in some way.
Speaking of which, is your ukulele handy? Do you want to share a song?
Yeah, I can share a new one that I haven't released. I played it a couple of times on live shows. I did this live stream a couple of weeks ago in an old water tower outside of Copenhagen. You can find the link on my Facebook. And I played it there. But here it goes. It's called Circular Path.
That's incredible.
Thanks.
So watching you play, something that I've always noticed, and especially in recording settings, is your playing comes across unbelievably intimate.
Oh, thanks.
There's something about the way you touch the strings and the way you fret notes that's just like it draws you in, and it feels, I don't know if it's silly, but it sounds so like more personal than lots of other ukulele players.
Thanks.
Is that something you cultivate or have ever like worked on, or is that just your sound?
That's a good question. I think ultimately because I grew up in literally the other part of, if you just dug through the whole of Hawaii, I guess, or I grew up in a very different culture than that where the ukulele is originated in. Of course, it's also a pop music instrument nowadays, but I'm not sure I even cultivated it. I just went for what I liked, I think, what I enjoyed. I know a lot of people think that it's very different from other kinds of ukulele players, but I never really thought too much about it. But I don't play with nails, maybe, so in that way, it will never sound like this kind of attack. You know, it will always sound soft in some way because I use the tips of my fingers. But you don't play with nails either, do you?
I do play with nails.
Oh, you do play with nails, okay. But there are some people who don't play with nails as well. And maybe I prioritize to compose. But a lot of ukulele players do that as well, so... Also, I really dislike flamenco music. I think that could be one thing. Not to say that I don't like certain flamenco music, but if I can choose not to listen to it, I will do that. But sometimes, you know, I do understand the vibe of like some of the masters, like Paco de Lucia or something, you know, all those masters. I understand that, you know, aggressive vibe of like, okay, and all the clapping, and you don't clap with one, you clap on something 3 and 6, and I don't know, in a 12-bar beat, you clap on certain things, and I understand that kind of, but I can't resonate with it, and I don't like when ukulele players play flamenco music, really. I don't like that. I don't enjoy that sound, really. So I was just inspired by something else. I think it would be wrong to say that flamenco music or flamenco inspired music, or this kind of shredding music is something new to the uke. Although I'm not a historian, so I don't know, but I can just imagine if the music comes from Madeira, or if the instrument came from Madeira, and there must have been some influences from Spain as well. There must have been some kind of connection there, although I'm not sure. I want to ask Kylin Reese about that at some point. Subconsciously, I always found it interesting to take another standpoint compared to what other people do. Saying that, it's not really the first priority. I just go for what I hear in my head, I guess, and exploring the different possibilities on the instrument, different paths on the instrument. I don't know if that answers your question, really.
Yeah, it's always just insight into the musician's mind, like what is actually happening in there.
Yeah.
But you sent over a new single that you've got coming out. Is it out by now? Blue Lotus. It's a lovely tune.
Oh, thank you very much. It will be out I think it's 1st of April. It's kind of the same vibe. I've been recording, working on an album with a double bass player called Jonathan Bremer, a good friend of mine, and it will be sort of these kind of songs, and I want to make it into an album where you can't really hear that the song is changing to a new song.
Cool.
I'm kind of I'm fascinated by making an album where it feels more like a playlist or like a DJ set in some way. But then I just want to make it super chill. I like to meditate as well, and I like to make music where I feel like it's a meditation, even for myself. So I'm working on that, but the single will be out. I think it's 1st of April, and it's kind of similar vibe. I don't know if you could play it, maybe, or
yeah, if you're open to that, I'd love to play it for my listeners.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. Well, we'll edit it in right here.
Yeah. World premiere.
So listening to that piece, you've always kind of done, from some of the recordings that I've heard, I won't say always, but was it Bayen Sover? Is that how you say it?
Byen Sover. Oh yeah, it's some years ago. It's 6 years ago. Did the album with another double bassist.
And it's a beautiful album, and again, it's very intimate, but also something that
Thanks
struck me, and that's kind of the same about this Blue Lotus single, is that you leave so much space, and it's so sparse the way you play and you interact with the double bass, and to so many ukulele players, that's like very brave. Not many people are comfortable just existing in music and letting it be so quiet all the time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Do you think that's something that comes from your background, or is that intentional and you kind of like stare down the rests and just get really comfortable in that openness?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure either. I never really thought about it like that people don't dare to do it. I was just under the understanding that people don't like it. But maybe they just don't dare, or maybe they're afraid of doing it. I never really thought about that.
That's my understanding. It seems like.
Yeah. Maybe there's some truth to that. I'm thinking about that now. People are afraid of it. But there is aren't there some natural limitations to the uke in terms of sustain? You know, traditionally it's not really a sustain instrument, and when you play one note and like, hold it, I guess it can be intimidating for the player if there are no sustain. Maybe. Well, the ukes I play on now, they do have a lot of sustain compared to it being a uke, but maybe that helped me in my playing. I'm not really sure.
It's just an interesting thought, because you just come at it from such a different angle from every other player that I know of.
I was very inspired when I started. I was very inspired by the way James plays and makes the uke sing. I think that was a big inspiration, but also, yeah, I want to say that I also played a lot of fiddle music, but that's not really either. That's not really either the vibe I'm going for these days. But I want to make the instrument sing. I love trying to find certain spots on the instrument where you can hear all the overtones and it resonates a lot. Going for that kind of open string sound.
Well, that was going to be one of my other questions, is that you're like this, you're this fabulous player, you have incredible chops, and yet for a lot of your stuff, you choose to play in open keys and like easy ukulele keys. What is your approach to like composing in those keys, and why do you play in them?
It's not to say that I don't like when it's a closed sound, because that has a quality as well. But for solo uke, it's easier to make it sing. It's easier to make more sound of it when you have the open strings and when you can jump around campanella style, making it ring out even more. So I think that's probably the first thought I have about that. I guess that was something I became aware of when I studied on the music academy back in the day, some years ago. That all the fiddle, all my study mates, all the people I studied with, there were some virtuos, like fiddlers, who could play. They just hear a song and they just hear a fiddle tune, and then they can just play it in D, A, G, and F maybe. But then if you mention to them, can you play a E flat melodic minor, then it will just be a blue screen of death. Like it would be like you do something in Windows and then it just crashed the computer because they had no idea, and then just virtuoso in D major, and they just don't know the concept of E flat major, or like they never played a E flat major scale. like in their life, and they're terrified, and I can see the fear in their eyes still, and it was very provocating to me back then. But then I think I understood it from the fiddler's perspective, that you want to use the open strings to make it a more solistic instrument. But you could do that on a closed sound, but for a whole song, it's really challenging. If it's not that kind of ringing music. Of course, if it was a jazz song, it would be no problem at all to have it a closed sound, like swing jazz, foot kind of music. For this kind of open kind of sound, this kind of ringing sound where you make the uke really sing, you have to use those keys. I'm more aware of it now than I used to be, but so in a set, I still choose when I play a concert. I'll still try to shift a little bit between different keys, so I don't end up playing in F all the time or C. I think it came from that experience playing with the violins, that I started being really provocated by it until I understood the idea of it.
This is great stuff, man.
Thanks.
Kind of the first and only time we really have connected is the 2 weeks that you came out here and spent with me, and we had great.
Oh yeah, that was so
great
nice.
time. But afterwards, I believe you headed over to Oahu to meet the Hawaii Music Supply guys.
Yeah,
and then ended up working over there.
Yeah. I had a what's it called, internship at some point some years ago, and I've been there at the podcast a couple of times as well. They're really nice people, good friends. What was your question again?
I was just curious, like, were you ever running the storefront? Did you ever like help people choose ukuleles or anything like that?
Oh yeah. I were. Yeah, I was in the. When people asked about certain things, I really enjoyed that kind of A/B test. Ask the budget, and then $300. Okay, let's pick all the $300 uke, and then just really be acknowledging what is it that you want. Do you want a full sound, or do you want this kind of brittle sound? Do you want a full sustain, or do you want a like sharp attack, short note? And then it's just A/B, 3 ukes, ABC, 3 ukes. Listen to it back and forth until you like really acknowledge which one you really love. I really like that process, actually. I really enjoyed that process in the store. Yeah, that was good fun, actually. I think I enjoyed it. I think some of the other, I don't think Corey enjoyed it. I don't think Corey understood how much I enjoyed it. I don't think I was like, oh, but it's only $300. You just let them choose themselves. But but I don't know. I was just so keen on. Okay, let's really decide. Let's really listen to these 3 ukes, and then really try to talk about it with the customer. And which one do you like? How do you experience the sound? I don't know why I was very satisfied by that process. But I also didn't work in the same store for over 10 years. So not to say that Corey is not the master of knowing that for sure, but I think when it's the cheaper ukes, I don't think he bothered too much trying to figure out which one is the best, because I think he thinks all of them are good. So it's just a matter of taste, really, which is true as well. But I don't know. I just really love that process for some reason.
And having that access to so many different instruments, that's sort of the dream when somebody's buying an ukulele. And so many people they go on Amazon and they just pick the one that looks nice. But being able to go and actually listen to them and experience them, were there any trends?
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any trends that you noticed helping people find different instruments, like what they were looking for? Or because I feel like so often they're kind of confused by the whole thing. They don't actually know what they want.
Well, in my experience, people know what they want, but they are a little bit afraid of telling it, and also they can't. Sometimes, quite often, they can't explain it with words what they do like and what they don't like. But yeah, if you have a store like that, a physical store, it really makes sense to go and try it out and really take your time to really find the one that you really enjoy, I think. And you can do that for yourself, which is fine as well. But I don't know, I just enjoyed helping it out. And also, it was a big journey as well for me as a player to be able to hear all these different kind of ukes and really listen carefully and taking your time to understand. Okay, how does this one compare to this one? It takes a lot of time to understand that, and even to be able to describe it. And there's so many parameters to be aware of. It takes many years. I remember the first time I got a endorsement from Miami. I had no idea. I was just like, oh, this is a uke, and it's nice, and it's not Carla from 2005. It's not a crappy uke, old crappy uke. I guess I know they're much better nowadays, but isn't it amazing how the development of ukes have
just it's just profound.
Went up like 1,000% the last 10 years or more. It's crazy. Yeah, it's very crazy. Like even some of the Makalas, they do sound decent compared to when I was a kid. That kind of that kind of factory uke when I was a kid, it sucked big time. So bad. The frets were too high, and but now it was like basically a toy back then. But nowadays it actually works for strumming some chords. Yeah, it was a big journey in my listening journey, just working at the store and in the factory as well.
Did you find that it was disorienting to play so many different ukuleles with different sounds and not be able to like get comfortable with one of them? I mean, obviously you're playing your own personal instruments more than the rest, but I feel like people who like switch between a lot of ukuleles leave a little bit of tone on the table because they don't necessarily get really familiar with what makes that ukulele work.
Well, I always had my custom Anui Nui in the store, so I could always go back to that one as a reference point. And I always ended up thinking, oh, I'm so happy that this is my uke. Even playing some of the really expensive ones in the store, like the what's the guy called? Oh yeah, like I'm just looking at the YouTube channel right now. But even trying some of the really high end ones, like the more better, and the Iwi, of course. I can't find it now. But trying some of the really expensive ones, which was still mesmerizing. And some really great luthiers, like single luthiers. I still went back to my uke and thought, oh, I'm really happy that I got this one. The only thing I really want at some point is a Kamaka concert size, the one with the funny head. I really love those ones. But even the expensive ones with $5,000 ukes and all this bling bling thing. Even though they sound really amazing, I don't think I would want one actually. I think I found what I enjoy with the Anui Nui. So in that way, I had a point of reference at least. But I'm not sure it was confusing. I guess at some point it must have been confusing listening back on 300 different ukes over a time period. But the more you do it, the more you can describe it, I feel like. And I haven't really recorded much. I haven't really worked with other ukes than the Maiamois and the Anui Nui. And I also have a soprano Kamaka Is it called the Gold label? One of the old ones from '69 or something. Yeah, I like that for the old school sound of it. But for recording or for gigs, I just stuck with those ones I have. I feel like the Maimois give a more rough sound, more sounds like a wooden cabin, and the Anui Nuis is just, it has this kind of Asian perfectness that some people would describe as really boring, but it's just very filling. It's just, when you listen back and forth with that one, I was listening to a lot of other high-end ukes and A-B back and forth, and every time I would play a high-end uke in the store, I was like, oh wow, this is a good instrument. And then I went back to the Anui Nui, and I was like, whoa, okay. Yeah, okay, it's there's just more frequencies, and I want to say, but it's not a negative way, I just want to say less personal sound. It's just more of everything, I feel like. But it's a custom-made one from the Moonbird series. So I'm not really sure how they made it. I'm not sure how my bracing how my bracing is compared to other Anui Nuis. Yeah.
Do you ever wonder about having to, if you ever like wear that one out and have to find another ukulele? That's sort of a fear that I have. It's like, oh no, I have to get something new.
Yeah. I used to have that feeling with my Maimoi that broke when I was in Hawaii first time. It broke because of the humidity. It was just going directly into the instrument because it wasn't lacquered. It was just oiled, and I didn't take good care of it. And I was so sad when it broke. In the end, it's just an instrument. I feel like I'm not too attached to it. I think I could find another one that would be satisfying as well. And I'm pretty sure that if I ask, they would give me a new one. But I don't know how they're heading as a company these days. I don't really speak too much with them, actually. Just have that now, and then I will record as much as possible with that one. But I'm not too afraid that it will break and I won't have another instrument. And I also have two of them. Maybe that's why. I have two Anui Nuis, which is a little bit different, custom made. But
that's good. And each one wears out twice as slow because you play both of them kind of evenly, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's a good problem to have.
In 50 years.
You were talking earlier about the reggae band project you've been working on. Is that new? I mean, I know.
Oh yeah,
I know you play a little bit of reggae. I heard you play some reggae stuff, but is that like a new endeavor, or is that something you've been involved with?
Well, it's a couple of friends and musicians friends that I've been playing with for many years, almost 10 years in different session bands. And in 2016, we had 10 days in the summer where we recorded like full band all together, roots music, roots reggae, 4 horns, drums, bass, picking guitar, offbeat guitar, keys, organ, percussion, 2 percussionists actually, just full roots session, and everyone recorded together. And we were many different musicians every day, different guitars, different horn sections every day. And ultimately it just became a record. You can check it out on Spotify, Guiding Star Orchestra. And the album is called Natural Heights. We also have a single called Upful Melody, where I actually play uke on, which is something you have to listen carefully to really hear that it's a uke. Because I played it through a guitar amp.
So are you not playing ukulele with?
Well,
with the band?
I am on certain songs, but back then for the session I did record with a uke. But a couple years ago, my little brother's girlfriend, she had this really bad electric guitar that she didn't want anymore, like a teenage starter pack. I want to play electric guitar from I want to say Walmart if it was in the US, kind of like really bad guitar, which is perfect for roots reggae music because that was the instrument they had. They couldn't they couldn't buy a new instrument because I think there was a trade blocking thing. Trade, what's it called in English? Like, they couldn't import new strings and everything sound really racked, which is perfect because my guitar sounds like that. So nowadays I'm mostly playing guitar, but on certain songs when I have a feature like a ukulele melody, I will play the uke on it through a guitar amp with a pick. I hope too many people won't unfriend me on Facebook now. I'm playing with a pick on the uke.
A pick and an amp? What are you thinking, Tobias?
But yeah, it's been a long going project, Guiding Star Orchestra. But we're having a lot of momentum these days, and all sessions that we have every second week, is we're actually recording here in the studio. It's just setting up the mics, everyone recording at the same time. Sometimes in the different rooms, sometimes in the same room. But just it feels like it's really going well with that. We have a lot of gigs in the summer. I really hope we're allowed to play it. But if not, I think I'm very sure that we will keep the momentum and then just play the gigs when we can.
Do you ever see the ukulele becoming more in the forefront for a reggae band, like ever taking the place of the chant guitar? Could you do that on the ukulele, or is there a specific reason?
If you listen to the record, I play a uke as the offbeats in the band. So that is definitely possible. But when I got the guitar and started playing with the guitar, I felt like it sounded more traditional, it sounded more right, and the vibe in the band is more traditional. And I'm not 100% sure, but my good friend, who's the piano player in the band, I'm pretty sure that he doesn't like uke. I haven't really spoken with him about it, but he can be a little bit sour to work with sometimes if certain things doesn't play well. So I figure out, okay, I might as well try play guitar, even though I've had this idea all my life that I was never going to play guitar. But I don't know, I just want to fit in the band. And I really enjoy that role, really. Just being in the background and nobody gives a shit about me afterwards. Nobody want to talk with me afterwards, the concerts. It's perfect. I'm just playing the offbeat. And I'm just playing it right now. I've used a lot of time to just not make mistakes all the time. Just play the same thing and play it nice in the right flow. Just play it, with the piano. Just play it at the same time, 100%, one unit kind of feeling. Forgetting myself in it. I really like that thing. And it's much easier with the guitar. Not to say it's not possible with the uke, but I feel like with the uke, I had to invent the spoon again. I had to invent the D plate with playing uke in the reggae band, which is not 100% sure, not 100% true, because I know in Hawaii there's a big tradition of playing the uke in reggae bands. So, but my approach of it was, okay, I just wanted to make it sound like traditional roots music. That was my main goal of it, and it just in the end it feels like a struggle. So I still do it on certain songs, but I'm not sure I'm gonna pursue it in the band in the future for new songs. But our single, it's very clear in our single "Of Full Melody" that it is a uke, so I kind of have to still keep it along in the band. But I don't know if I want to go more that way, because playing live gigs with it, I just experienced that being anonymous background player. I really enjoyed that, so I think I'm sticking to that. Yeah, which is the opposite of when I play solo concerts or with the double bassist, where I get all the attention. little bit of both. I see it as I see the reggae band as another way of having a career in music, where you can at least play music and get a decent income from just playing gigs. I think it's easier with the guitar. Yeah.
Are you any kind of well known in Denmark for playing the ukulele? Are you like
Within the musician, yeah, I think within like a, how do you say it I think we say the cultural class when we talk about class system in Europe. I'm not sure you say the same in the States or in Hawaii, but I think within that, within those people, I'm kind of underground known, at least. Yeah, not sure famous, but I've been on a couple of podcasts here in Denmark where people want to talk about the uke because, yeah, as you know, it's like the most selling instrument. I think probably the most selling instrument in music history, maybe. Some stores, they told me a couple years ago, they sold a uke every day. These small local stores, instrument stores, which is crazy in Denmark. So, yeah, not super famous. And I never had any ambition of being famous. It never really was never my ambition. My ambition has always been to just make a living from. I just want to just make a living. I just have enough money to survive and just be humble with that. I don't need a big mansion or like. I don't need a lot of stuff. I don't really like stuff in general as a concept. I don't really like things too much. It bothers me too much. It gives me too many troubles, I think. I don't want a lot of money either. Just wanna survive. So, with music, and I want people to listen to it if they like it. That's also a goal for my for my music. I want to make music that people actually listen to. It's something that really changed. Something I see in the music business that really changed since the CD. I'm not 100% sure that it's true, but the way I see it is that when we had the CDs as the main thing, as the main business thing, all these big companies, they would boost all these boy bands, girl bands, this kind of 5 people, and you have different characters, and we really promote the people around it, and even though the music sucks, we just promote the music so much, and then people will buy the CD because they fell in love with the persons, and then they buy the CD, and then economically in the business we don't care whether you listen to the CD actually, because there's no economical benefit from the industry for you to listen to the CD when you sold the CD for how was it, like $20 or something back then? To sell a CD and you sell millions of CDs for $20, that's a lot of money. That's really a lot of money. And nowadays you can't do that trick. You can't just boost a lot of music that sucks. It has to have some certain quality so people want to listen to it again. I've been thinking a lot about that when I write or release more music, that I think it's important that people actually use it and listen to it. I also see a lot of with streaming in general, with playlists. It's such a big thing with Spotify here in Europe. I'm not sure how big it is in the States. I think Apple Music or like iTunes is bigger in the States, but with playlists, that's such a big power because then you have like, it's really used for certain things. You have a coffee playlist, like coffee in the morning at 11 a.m. Playlist, or working out cardio workout playlist, or I'm getting the 80-year-old birthday from your grandparents playlist. I don't know, all these different kind of scenarios playlists, and then people really really value that the playlist is curated so it doesn't disturb the vibe that you show in the playlist. If you have meditative sounds in the playlist, it must have certain quality, otherwise people don't listen to it because it disturbs the vibe. But it also means that people don't care about you as a musician in general if they're only into playlist. They don't care about how you look or where you're from. They just listen to the song, and then when they hear the song in another context, they say, "Oh yeah, I know that song. Oh, that's the song from the playlist." They never refer to the album. I'm talking very generally now. I'm not talking about the people that are true music lovers and really still buy albums and really value that process of it. I'm just talking about the general use of music nowadays. But I feel like I'm not sure it's necessarily negative. I just feel like it's another perspective of music, and I think it's interesting, that development of it. It's interesting that it's getting used, and the industries have to be aware of that when they sign new artists. They can't just sign artists that are beautiful or that looks great or have a pop song that goes up, because then it goes down. You can't just have a flying high and then it just falls down, because it's not good business for the music industry nowadays. You want to have a song that people keep listening to the next 50 years in a certain mood, in a certain vibe. Yeah, so that's interesting. That's something I've thought a lot about. Not to say that I'm there yet at all, but I wanna think more. I wanna do an album where I keep that in mind more.
So do you have any plans for new ukulele albums?
Well, I have been recording, and I'm starting. I have is it half through or like 2/3 part through? I just lack a couple of songs, and then there's an album. And one of the songs from the session is that single, the Blue Lotus, as we talked about before. So it's kind of the same vibe. I can try to play another one if you want.
Please. Yeah, that would be fabulous if you're into it. Before you do that, though, can I bug you to demonstrate how you tune with the octaves? Because you're the person I learned the octave thing from.
Oh, really? Like this one?
That one, or like the third fret in the open string?
Okay, yeah. Oh, I never thought about that. That's interesting. So I want to, when I tune the uke without a tuner, I want to have the G matching, but sometimes it's difficult. And then I also want, the fourth string G. I want to match it with the second string third fret G. And then I also want to match the C, open C string, with the eighth fret on the second string. And then I also like to match the E, open E, with the 7th fret E on the first string. And also the C, open C, and the 3rd fret on the first string C. Was that what you meant with the octaves?
Yeah, it was just seeing you do that was such a kind of an epiphany for me. It was like, oh, duh. It's so easy to hear the octaves as opposed to like tuning with the fifths and the fourths and the third. It's way easier to hear the octaves. And as soon as I started doing that, tuning became much easier for me by ear. I mean, I had done it for years and years.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of like a wow
That's very
moment.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting. I'm not sure where I got it from. But I have had tuning issues throughout the years, playing with fiddles that, they tune in fifth, and the fifth are pure fifths. And then sometimes I feel like my third, when I was playing in detuning, I felt like my third it didn't tune with the piano too much. And there was like a issue sometimes. But nowadays I guess I tune more temperated. Yeah.
And what do you mean by that?
Like tuning for fiddles, when you have stringed instruments, like why is it called that in English? Because the uke is also stringed. But like strings, violin, viola, double bass, when they play together, they don't play temperated scale like the piano. They play for the overtones. They aim to play so they resonate as much as possible with each other. And doing that, it's not in tune with the piano. I'm not too sure how it is, but I think it's the thirds that are very different. Like the third note in the scale gets very different. The octaves are probably the same, and the fifth maybe are the same. Oh, I wish I knew more about this. But I just know that it's a different thing. So when you, for example, play chords on like a violin, viola, or double bass, the note G flat is not the same as the note F sharp. It's not the same note at all. You have to really change it, otherwise it sounds really bad. It's very interesting, actually. It just feels a little bit different when you've been in it for a while, and then go back to temperated scale. I know also that, well, I don't know if it's a legend, but I heard that story when Bach made the piece called Das Wohltemperiert Klavier, the well-temperated piano. When he did that piece, a lot of people walked out because they thought it was outrageous that he tuned the piano so you could play in all keys on the piano, because then it wasn't in tune. A lot of people thought so. They walked out because it was like, whoa, it sounds crazy. And in folk music, in Scandinavian folk music, some traditions they really dig into those kind of old ways of tuning the scale. It can be inspiring as well. I guess it was inspiring for me when I was studying. Okay, but let me play one of the other songs from my album that is not released, but will be at some point when it's finished. This one is called Gratitude. Sounds like this.
So mellow.
Thanks.
Well, I know I could sit here and listen to you play all day, but I know you've got to vacate the studio shortly-ish.
Oh, yeah.
But before that, I was gonna share a story from when you were here, and we went down to Chuck Moore's house. And
that was so nice. I really hope he's doing well now.
yes, I believe he's doing better. But we went down to his house. I took you down there to meet Chuck, and it just so happened that Uncle Ledward Kophana was playing at Uncle Robert's.
So
that
nice,
night.
yeah.
And so he rolls up at Chuck's house with his whole entourage. They had 2 cars worth of people, all of his sisters and his whole ohana, and they're just lovely, lovely people. But
Yeah.
we ended up jamming all together, and Tobias is here from Denmark visiting, and I think like it's strange enough for me to be like the haole white kid at the Hawaiian Jam, but then for you to show up and be the guy from Denmark who plays so well, everybody's just like scratching their heads. They can't quite figure it out. But I remember from earlier in your trip, we went down and stayed with my friend Larry down in Waipio Valley, and we taught you that song.
That was so nice.
Pua Lilile Hua.
Oh yeah. I've been playing that quite a while actually. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. And when it was your turn in the song circle at Chuck's house, sitting around with the uncles and the aunties and everybody, and you pulled this song out, Pua Lilile Hua. It's like, there's a song that I learned from Brad and from Larry, and I want to share it with you. And you played it, and you started it like you expected no one to know it. And that's one of the songs that Uncle Ledward made so super famous with Hui Ohana.
yeah. Actually, I didn't know that version back then from Hui Ohana, but I knew that, of course, they would know it because it's a traditional. But I wasn't aware that it was such a big hit. But I actually bought the record afterwards. I listened a lot to it. It's really beautiful. It's for like 72 or something. Just a trio, bass, guitar, electric guitar, something like that. So beautiful, that song. Wow.
Hui Ohana is my favorite Hawaiian band. They just magic
Makes
sounds
sense.
they made.
Makes sense.
But we had so much fun on that visit, and so many great moments. But that one sticks out as one of the most fun musical moments of being able to jam with Uncle Led of all people, and then to have you spontaneously present that song. That he is so well known for. It's just a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I just imagine if it was myself, like someone else coming from the totally different part of the world, and then coming to Denmark and playing some kind of traditional Danish song, and that was me weird to experience. It must be special to experience for them as well, but or from Ledward. Yeah, that was a big thing.
That's the beauty of music.
That's true. It really travels, and we can share it without speaking, really, or we can just share the vibes of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tobias, for joining me from your morning, from your studio.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad, for having me.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see your face, man. It's been far too long.
You too. Yeah, it's been far too long, yeah. Hope to see you in the future.
Yeah, well, now we've established Hawaii is like always your backup plan. When COVID's over, it's just, you don't know what to do, just come to Hawaii.
It's my backup plan, if Andrew still wants me.
Well, you're always welcome here, and I hope we can have another visit like that sometime soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really want to.
You can find out more about Tobias's music and see some of his tutorial videos on pretty much most social media platforms. He's super active, always posting new things and little riffs he's been working on, plus how-tos. And of course, tobiaselof.com, along with Spotify and Apple Music and all that good stuff. Check him out. Throw some support his way. He's also on Patreon. The Live Ukulele podcast is published on the first and third Saturdays of each month. Please subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Be well out there. Keep jamming your ukuleles. Aloha.